equanimity of the mind.
Mm.
So spiritual progress can only happen if you have that equanimity of the mind. So there is an internal mental state different from a seeker and the non-seeker. The seeker's mind is full of equanimity. Very good. So you are saying it is $60,000 car. Very good. And when I went to Phoenix last week, they said it is 53. Very good. I congratulated both of them. I said, I will tell you. So that equanimity of mind is known as the purity of the mind, where the real self will reflect. So instead of waiting for the new year, now we are directly focusing on these 40 steps. So the first step we should know about, we should study and understand the real self. So treasure and the beauty of the Eastern wisdom should be there. So just laying down an introduction of the very first step. Last time I think, we had a question and answer session. So the master says that we have to discover the treasure within. The treasure lies inside. So I have to sit down on a lazy chair, contemplate and think what it means. The treasure is inside. Is the treasure inside the body? Answer is big no. So if I say that treasure is inside the body, so inside the body, inside the skin, you have blood, you have arteries in the veins, in the heart, in the lungs, and your stomach, and a lot of these organs are there. What do you mean by inside? It means a rise in awareness. That needs to be clearly understood. Then only we can approach the real self, otherwise, there is no. For example, we all seek happiness, for example, but lasting joy, peace comes from the self discovery, and we say the self is inside. So, that inside simply means there is a rise in awareness. Can you see happiness? No. Can I experience happiness? Yes. Does happiness has a name and the form? No. Body has a name and the form? Yes. So my five sense organs gives the perception of the external world. That is the first level of consciousness. But I can see you, you can see me, but you cannot see my thoughts, I cannot see your thoughts. So that is a subtler level. And still I am aware, still I experience. Thought is there, feeling is there, emotions are there. It's a subtler level. So-called the real self or the spiritual consciousness is subtler than this subtle mind. You cannot see by, let me see what color the real self is. No color, no form, no shape. I just explained you an example of the happiness. So until we develop the faculties of the mind to be able to perceive beyond the name and the form, perceiving beyond the name and the form is the beginning of rise in awareness. And that is why, as long as this mind keeps on attachment and aversion to the world of people, of relations, of situations with the name and the form, Mind remains gross and physical. It does not develop the capability to perceive and experience the higher consciousness. That is the meaning the mind is going within. You don't attend the session because of this name in the form. Knowledge has no name in the form. But still you say, yes, I will continue to attend. So that knowledge, where there is a knowledge, there is a consciousness. Consciousness is of the nature of the knowledge, and the conscious, that very pure consciousness, is the real self. Why I say pure consciousness? You have to put everything logically. That will make you clear. Pure conscious. It means, when I say, how are you, how are you, you got the car. So my consciousness has been converted by the mind in the form of a car. That is why it is not pure consciousness. Or if I say pure consciousness means the consciousness devoid of any object. It is an objectless state. Buddha says, what is meditation? Dhyanam nirvishayam manaha. When all the contents of the mind are gone, what is left is the real self in the mind. That is the objectless state of the mind. That is the rise in consciousness. Blind belief will not work. That is why the blind belief makes followers. Belief pending inquiry makes you a seeker.
mm,
Blind belief makes us followers, following a particular cult, dogma, belief. We don't understand, but there is a blind belief, and then we create nuisance in the world. Only my cult, only my religion, only my God, and long list. That will not work. It's a propaganda, it's a promotion. Everything is good in the world that way. But as a spiritual seeker, we should understand. So blind belief has no place. We must question assumptions as the scientists test the hypothesis. False perception fall away when we analyze them, when we listen to the talk, when we understand these principles. These false perceptions falls away when we analyze them. What do you mean by analysis? Again, pay attention. It's a cause and effect relationship. For example, when anxious thought arise, instead of being into anxiety, I should inquire, is this notion of being anxious is true or false? That will set the self-discovery into motion. I am overwhelmed by the particular feeling which I named as anxiety, which I named as a fear. I don't question. I am living in blind belief. Doctors make a lot of money. That is why you have a health insurance. You should be insured with me instead of having a health insurance. So that is belief pending inquiry helps us to assimilate the truth through contemplation. Spirituality means that we have to apply the truth, what is real, skillfully in my daily life. Oh, I made it so simple. Yes. Apply the truth skillfully in daily living. Daily living means thought, speech, and action. Daily living means personal, professional, social life. You are a spiritual guy. You need not to declare that I'm not religious, I'm a spiritual. You live into that state of the consciousness. That consciousness we are talking about is the real self. But without the purity of the mind, this is not possible. And when we talk of the purity of the mind, you see, you look at someone, and is there any thought of attachment or aversion is there? That attachment and aversion takes over my mind. It becomes purely physical. I forget the very subtler nature of the mind also, what to talk of the subtlest nature of the consciousness, which is the real self. So that mind means that is outward tendency, outward moving tendency of the mind. And it demands a lot of contemplation, questioning to yourself. Anytime you have a stress, anxiety, fear, and you are aware, then you question the validity of the anxiety rather than getting carried away, is the meaning of rise in consciousness. I'm not saying throw it away, but question to see if it is valid or not. So when I don't see it is valid or not, then I get carried away by it, and that brings the fear and host of other issues. So Eastern wisdom aims at a pragmatic approach to discover what is my real nature by knowledge, by contemplation, reflection, by practice. But we have to follow these fundamental concepts and the principles until we realize the real self. After realization of the real self, throw all the concepts into the bin. Nothing is used. Big difference between the science and the Eastern wisdom. What is the difference? Science always goes with the concepts and the principles and the laws. You remove the laws, no law in the science exists. We use these principles and concepts to clarify the mind, to purify the mind, to help the mind to absorb into the real self. And once the real self is attained, once you reach to your house, you put the car into garage. You are not attached to the garage. Oh, you throw it, it's done. Why? Real self is not a concept. Real self is a reality. All the applications of the science is based on the principles and the concept. You remove the principle and the concept, the science will not exist. Think of it, contemplate and reflect. So, why we say that I don't know the real self because of the false assumption and the wrong notion? It means that is the ignorance, and the ignorance hides my inner treasure. We fail to recognize that consciousness, that real self, because my mind is so much hypnotized by the external world. So it is the ignorance in the mind that obscures the real self. So why, what principles and concepts of practices of the Eastern wisdom does? It removes that. It removes that, what obscures. So the constant chattering in the mind, constant sense of anxiety. Fact is that we are suffering every day, every hour, every minute, every second. That has become a new normal to our life. That is what the modern age is. That is why the science says modern age is an age of anxiety. That age of anxiety is inside the head, it is not outside. We made our smartphone as a conscious entity, phone buzz. Our first response is to look at the phone as if something important is happening. But the most important thing that is happening inside me, I'm not aware of.
Hmm.
It has become our habit, addiction. So, as long as this mind lives outside, it cannot move inside. And again, I'm saying inside means the rise in awareness. In that rise in awareness helps us to transcend the physical level, physical perception, mental level, mental perception, and then whatever is left is the real self. So we are understanding the very nature of the real self also. So once we understand, there are basically three levels. Physical level is there, the lowest level. Then the mental, subtle level. We say it is a subtle. And then subtler than the subtle is what the consciousness is. There is the real self. So if we do not transcend the physical and the mental level, we cannot enter into that. But another problem, another beautiful, it's not a mysticism, but it's a fact that real self is permeating everywhere. It is permeating in the body, it is permeating in the entire universe, it is all pervading. Why can't I see? If I'm obsessed with the waves, how can I see the water? I'm obsessed with the waves. Oh, look at the storm. I see the same waves, bigger waves as a storm, as a tsunami. We recently have that storm in Florida. I don't see it as a water. So my mind is already colored. My mind is purely physical. The physical mind cannot find the real self. Physical mind is the impure mind. I still see that storm of the flood water is not the storm, it is actually the water. But my mind is set so much heavily conditioned, I see it as a storm. Water is still present there. So whether there is a storm, there is no storm, there is a wave, there is no wave, the water is still present everywhere in the ocean. Same way the real self is permeating everywhere. We are going to discover that real self, the very essence. And that essence is present everywhere, in all the beings, in all the places, in all the situations. It is ever present. That is the discovery of the real self. Now the question arises that when it is permeating, it is all pervading, how to find it? But I don't see it. I give an example that I say the storm, the fact is that it is water. Truth is that it is water. Color blindness is there.
So are we that way, like with just our whole life? Everything I look at, I give it a name and a form, but I see it for what it truly is.
I don't see what truly it is. What exactly is the essence behind it? I don't see it. This is my house, this is your house, this is my car, that is my car.
Are we supposed to?
We go behind the car, go behind the house. What is that? There is a space which is a common essence of all the houses, isn't it? You decorate the wall, which cost you $50,000 a single wall. It does not alter the space, the very essence of the house. So we should have an ability to see the essence, not the secondary factors of the name and the form. No, but how can you say mansion is different than your house and my how it is how it is different? You are colorblind. You're only looking at the surface at the physical level. You are not looking inside. Whether it is a house or a mansion or a condo, without the space, the main essence is the space. If the space is not there, the house does not exist. Four wheels are not there, the car does not exist. Now, over the four wheels, there is a brand, BMW and Mercedes, and what else? Maserati and Toyota and Honda. So I should be aware of that essence in everything. That common essence, I have to develop that subtle faculty of perceiving the essence. Whether it's a Miss Universe or your honey, it has the same organs. The body is made up of the same material. But my perception is colorblind. So I'm not able to see the essence behind it. That is also known as the ignorance and attachment and detachment. Unless I have that ability to see the essence, for the sake of convenience, yes, you can say it is my car, but my car is not made up of me. Living in a society, yes, it is a convenient language. But internally, you are constantly aware. So you see, Eastern wisdom provides a path of self discovery and ending the suffering through gaining knowledge of one's real self. One's real self means my essence. And this knowledge is revealed through the teachings of the great masters over thousands of years. So we have to follow a pragmatic approach, step by step. Casual reading and casual listening will not work. Casual listening and casual will not work. So just see in the light of, in a different way. There is a real self which is all pervading. We will talk about the 6 characteristics of the real self in our next session. So there is a real self belief, pending inquiry. So then comes the second concept, that because of the ignorance, I am not able to see the real self. Not knowing the real self, falsely identifying with the body and the mind, is what the ignorance is. I told you the story of lion cub was raised by the cows and behaving unlike its true nature, the true nature of the lion, fierce and aggressive, and eating the flesh. But because he was raised by the cows, so he was eating the grass. So we are also eating the happiness in the name of the pleasure that we receive from the world outside. All the time. I am aware that I this is a short-term pleasure. But when the force of attachment is present in the mind, I forget that it is a short term pleasure, it will give me happiness. You are the perfect example. I gave her 200%. Colorblind. Colorblind. I gave her 200%. At least she should send me a text message. So obviously that text message contains the love which you will drink with the water and you will feel the love. No, colorblind. That is ignorance. So ignorance is there where the knowledge is also there. So I see the entire world. I think, speak, and act out of the ignorance. I don't think, speak, and act out of the knowledge. And that's where the what results. First, I told you is the real self. Second is the ignorance. And then what happens? Now I see through the eyes of the ignorance. Result is suffering, suffering, suffering. I suffer every day, every hour, every minute, every second. You wake up in the morning and mind says, oh, sleep little, 1 hour more. You are already suffering. We take this suffering as so normal. We have twisted that suffering as maybe because of the lack of sleep. No. You wake up in the morning and you have a thought of negativity. You have started suffering. We take it, it's only a negative thought. So we go at a very subtler level. We understand. We understand, oh, why this is happening, how this is happening, because of the impurity of the mind caused by the ignorance. So the third factor is I have to remove the ignorance to find the real self.
Hang on. There's something right there. Hang on. Shush. Shush. Be quiet.
So removing the ignorance, real self, ignorance, suffering. Fourth factor is the removing the ignorance. That is the entire journey of the Eastern wisdom. I have to remove the layers of all the ignorance. Then what happens? When I open, it is same thing like when you wake up in the morning from a sleep, you wake up to the same world. But when you remove the ignorance, you awaken to a new reality. So there is a difference between waking up and awakening. Awakening comes by the practice of the Eastern wisdom. How it happens, I have to associate with the teacher, but association with the teacher is not enough until if I do not contemplate and reflect. The greater the contemplation and reflection, I have a realization of my false perception, and greater the realization of the false perception, I can understand what exactly is the detachment and what is attachment. Otherwise, it will not work. Think that today is our New Year's, so I've started a few weeks earlier. Today is 21, yeah, 2 weeks earlier. So I thought that will give enough time for you to to make a promise that what you are going to do in the new year.
What is that?
To find the real self. Commit to the journey of the real self. Committing means not only attending the session, repeat listening without fail, doing the practice. Contemplation and reflection. I always contemplate and reflect about the business, about the person, about the fiancé, about the house, about the car. I lack contemplation about the real self. 23 hours of contemplation about the world outside, no contemplation and reflection. So mind will continue to gather the dirt of impurity, and then every week you will listen to me, but you without contemplation and reflection in the practice. Contemplation, reflection means I question the false assumption. I told you an example. I have an anxiety. So, no, I have a lot of fear. What should know? Let me see whether it is a false assumption or a right. The moment you start questioning, you rise in awareness. Another way to do it that every day make it in the beginning half an hour. Half an hour you just sit on the lazy chair and tell your mind, I'm not doing anything. Mind will say, let us grab a glass of water. No, half an hour. That will help you to understand the very nature of the mind manifesting through the tendencies that is buried deep inside my mind. Those tendencies are reflecting and causing the distraction. The moment you decide that I will not do anything for half an hour, after a minute the mind will say, let us grab a glass of water. So first time you recognize, oh, this is the way the mind is working on me. Mind, half an hour I have to work on you. And I can bet you, if you are aware and alert for half an hour every day, within a week, you find a new level of awareness.
Am I meditating or am I just sitting?
Just sitting, and you are just aware and contemplating. When any thought comes, you contemplate, you respond to that thought. Instead, the thought translates into an action. Mind says, no, let us grab a glass of water. No, mind, I'm sitting for half an hour, doing nothing. Mind, you cannot pull me and force me to do anything. That will become meditation.
Eyes closed or open?
Whatever it is, whatever you prefer. Closed or open, it doesn't make any difference. Whether it is closed or open, still you can see the thought. You get carried away by the thought. You get carried away by the emotion, whether eyes are open or closed. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
But sitting, first day it will be very tough. Second day, then it may become little easy. After a week or so, then it becomes easy. Can the body move by itself? No. It is the mind, the tendency inside, it's a subconscious impression that moves the mind. I can become aware of those impressions which is moving the mind. That is the right.
Do I sit still?
Yeah, you have to sit still. Because even if the body moves and you question every movement. You question every thought, you question every emotion. No, I feel too much of tiredness. No, I will continue to sit like this for half an hour. Mind, don't give me any excuse. So the mind which is working on us, we will start working on the mind. Not only listening and learning. Or you. Another point is that you normally we have a session where 40 minutes is the talk. So you just eyes open and you are listening to the talk. patiently, attentively, without any movement. And when the practice comes, you do the practice. That is another way. So, because that will begin the contemplation. You are contemplating, but I want you to move to the next level of contemplation and reflection. What is going to happen? It will help you raise your self awareness, and you start acknowledging, oh, this mind was going there. That is why I have this false assumption. So, because a higher level of awareness will help you to explore the impurities of the mind.
Can I do it at night, or do I have to do it in the morning?
And morning is better, but even if you can do in the night, but don't do in the night while lying down on the bed, you'll fall into sleep. So we have already an excuse. Whenever you find the time, I must do it.
Okay.
So that is the journey of the self-knowledge, which is totally different than the worldly knowledge. The worldly knowledge, we are full of animal awareness, animal mentality. The more we are attached to the world, it is the animal mind in us. Animal mind cannot have a self-awareness. So when there is a lack of self-awareness, I fall down from the human to the animal awareness, which is called as an attachment, an obsession, an anxiety, a fear. So here is a catch. So by exploring ourselves, we are detaching ourselves from the suffering. We are not detaching ourselves from the worldly duties. You are having a particular profession, so you continue your profession, you continue to sleep, you continue to eat, but you are detaching yourself from the very attachment that is causing the suffering. You're not detached from the world outside. And that changes the mindset. It helps you to live into the higher awareness. And that higher awareness, go back, physical level, mental level, spiritual level. That spiritual level is subtler than the mental and also the physical level. I have to make my mind very subtle, subtler than the thought, to grasp that spiritual consciousness. I answered in the beginning, it's all about rise in awareness. So when I say moving the mind within, it is basically a rise in awareness. A regular introspection is required using the lens of these principles of Eastern wisdom. So what happens, in our journey of the Eastern wisdom, all the literature are mostly written in the Sanskrit language. So every word in the Sanskrit have a cryptic meaning. So with the help of the teacher, we extract its factual meaning, first level. Second level, then I repeat listening and I contemplate and reflect. I check the validity by myself. That is contemplation and reflection. Then I do the practice. I move into the higher awareness. What is going to happen? You start removing the doubts and the false assumption from your mind. You live into the higher awareness. That is going to help you to find the real self or the true nature and the true essence of myself. I am the real self. For example, you just pick up a thought, everyone, this beer guy is saying that, I'm the real self, and the real self has no name in the form. What are the things that has no name in the form? Do I see anything in the world which has no name and no form in the world? No. That is why we say it is beyond the world. That is the meaning, it transcends the world. How simple it is. But if I do not contemplate, proxy is not available. I told you, proxy is not available here. Someone can earn for you. You can hire 10 employees, they work, and ultimately they give you the wealth. But those employees cannot, even if you hire with thousands of dollars of salaries, they cannot help you to bring an end to the suffering that you have. You have to do it by yourself. There is no proxy there. You are hungry, then you have to eat food. And the rest is taken care by the digestive system. It is not that I eat for you and you will not be hungry. That is why too much of importance is laid on repeat listening, contemplation and reflection, and the other practice that I just half an hour in the beginning for 1 week, without fail, no excuse, because that mind, it was always seeking an excuse. I told you, many people write to me that I have a lot of stress today, that is why I'm skipping the session. You have a stress, then you must attend the session. You have an anxiety, you must attend the session. You must talk to me. No, I'm feeling sleepy. Now I will get rid of you from the sleep. And many people have taken 5 years only to understand this part. Then the Mondays and Thursdays group session. Now, how many left? Out of 20, only 10 people are left. Now they recognize the importance. So those 10 people, when I say, now close your eyes, being comfortable and steady, and now they don't move the body for another 30 to 40 minutes. It has come because of regular practice, not skipping a session. So what I'm doing, principles are there. I'm giving a commentary on those principles based on your personal trait, based your personal level, based on your level of evolution, based on your level of awareness. I'm just giving that. I'm simply talking of the same principle. Again, I'm repeating, study, set aside the time for study to know thyself. How? By listening and learning, by contemplation and reflection, by the practice, the progress will be speedier. You told me once that there is not enough progress. You go to the gym regularly, so you keep that muscle. Leave that for a month, and then you say, I don't have those 6, what do you say, 6 abs or 12 abs? I don't know.
I don't know.
So the way we develop the muscle going to the gym, we have to develop the muscle of the mind by regular practice, by the commitment. Teacher, teaching, seeker, seeking. they should align themselves perfectly. And the way the teacher comes out and speaks out of contemplation and reflection, the seeker has to inspire oneself. How come he is able to speak? How I am not? Why? Because I am not doing contemplation and reflection. So that is known as the satsang. Sat means truth, real. Sang means company, company of the real. It is not a gossip. It is always the company of the truth. I talked just for even 30 seconds about your car and I started the journey. Teachers in the Eastern wisdom are not at all concerned about all these things. They switch on directly. Their focus is how to help the seeker to understand what is the power of non-attachment. But the mind is experiencing the power of attachment. Mind might be thinking, just after this session, I have to do this. I'm waiting for when the session comes to an end. You are already attached. You are missing the session, even though you have attended the session physically. The mind is constantly moving to the messages on the phone is more important than the self-discovery. It will not happen. And that is where we say, I have to question and inquire the blind belief. Blind belief paralyzes the intellect, and when we have an intellectual paralysis, no contemplation, then what happens? Oh, I will do it from tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. I will do it in the night. The night never comes. Why? Today I'm late. I'm feeling sleepy. So the mind should contemplate and reflect. Mind says I'm feeling sleepy. No. I have to do it first. Let me do the practice. Now I'm feeling hungry. No, let me do the practice first, then I will. You have to you have to dissect the mind. You have to check where the mind is taking you, and you have to give a break. I'm not going to die even if I eat after half an hour. Give the logic. Emotionalize the mind with that principle. I'm not going to die even if I eat for half an hour. But if I don't eat, then my focus will not be there. No, it is my mind. Mind, you have to focus.
Yeah.
So I have to talk to my mind, communicate with the mind like this. Then it will work. It will definitely work. It has worked for millions of people. It is going to work for everyone, including you. Anytime you have a wrong notion, false assumption, anxiety and fear, oh, mind, you have given me an experience of anxiety. Let me find out if the anxiety is real. I will definitely be into anxiety. I will follow you. You start with that understanding. Let me see from where the fear is. I've got a fear. Let me see. Fear is in the room? No. Where the fear is. And you will discover the fear is gone. Or minimum, you have minimized the impact of it. That is the meaning that I digest and assimilate the teaching. And gradually, I bring an end to these delusive projections. You already know, projections means what is not true that appears. What I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. As a Chinese proverb, what I hear, I forget. I need a repetition. What I see, I remember. So by contemplation and reflection, now your mind starts seeing there is a truth. What I do, I practice. I understand. That is the meaning. Revealing. What I hear, I forget. I have not to forget. So what I should do? What I see, I remember. So I have to reach to a state of contemplation, reflection, where I remember because I see, and then I do the practice. What I do, I understand. One of my masters used to say that truth is like the sun. Its brightness has the effect of revealing the real self. How many times you are aware of the light, in the presence of the light, I'm aware of you physically, I'm aware of your body, you are aware of my body, computer, and the screen. But I am not at all aware of the light. Only when you switch off the light, then you say there is a darkness. Same way, the real self is all pervading. It is here and now. I don't see it. Ignorance. So that is why our master says we have to purify the mind. So there is a symbolic expression that let me settle my mind into the silence. Silence means silence means no object from outside. Objectless state. So we have to understand each and every word. They are used metaphorically. My master used to say, how many hours I spoke? 4 hours. But deeper inside, I see that I didn't speak anything. That mind was living in silence. Paradox logic applies there. Why? Mind can say anything, mind can express in the words, but what is beyond the mind is always in silence. You have a living experience of that silence even if you are engaged in all the activities. Not being judgmental. Another idea that Master brings forth, that I should not be judgmental means I like you, I hate you, I don't like you, I'm attached, I'm detached. And what is discerning intellect? Discerning intellect, that I am seeing it far. Like is there, dislike is there, but it is not touching me. So I live into the sense of detachment. I live in the world, but I do not belong to the world. That helps me to live into that awareness. But if I live in the world, I am of the world, I'm attached. Then we gradually understand how a particular thought translates into an action in my daily life, results into an attachment. So, that attachment resulting from the mental state and the attitude, can I change this attitude a bit? Can I tune in from the judgmental to the discerning radio? And then I see I'm doing the same action. Result is detachment. So that's why it's so subtle. We feel as if, the Buddha did not stop eating. Buddha always lived in big monasteries. If I'm living in a big house, then what? We do not understand. We are already confused. So, Eastern wisdom brings an inner transformation. After Buddha got awakened, he did not have the 3 eyes or 4 ears. Inner transformation takes place. So, an awakened guy can do the same activity which Others are doing, but what is the difference? Difference is inside. Difference is inside. That difference is between awakening and sleeping. That master perceives that it is the same real self is pervading everywhere, and the sleeping guy, non seeker, perceives because of the attachment, because of the detachment. We have to live into that. So, you see that example of the lion cub was raised in the cows. So, my behavior and attitude has changed completely living with the cows. My behavior and attitude has changed living in the world because I see the world is me. So, there is a world beyond. That is what the spiritual wisdom says. Otherwise, we will continue to behave in ignorance. We will continue to have the anxiety, duality, conflict. What is the goal? When I say goal is to discover the real self, what is that? The real self refers to the pure consciousness that is pervading everywhere. We'll start understanding that what is the real self in our next lesson. What are the six